Hi, my name is John West, and my teammates Jenkins, Josh, and Lamar. The last couple months, we've been researching and doing work to see if Southwest Airlines will go to Bermuda. A little bit about Southwest. They were founded on March 15, 1967 in Dallas, Texas by Rollin King and Herb Keller. The story goes these gentlemen were having lunch together, and King wrote on a napkin a triangle, and he passed it to Keller and told him, hey, we should start an airline. And on that napkin was these three cities, Dallas, Houston, and San Antonio. They officially began service on June 18, 1971. There's that 3-year gap because they were going to get started in 1967, but two of their competitors, Trans-Texas and Continental Airlines, filed suit against them to try to prevent them from getting off the ground. And they were able to win that 3 years later and started in 71. Fast forward to 2011, Gary Kelly is now the CEO. From 2011 to about 2014, Southwest acquired AirTran. AirTran used to be their competitor domestically and internationally. Before this acquisition, Southwest did not offer flights internationally. There were benefits for both AirTran and Southwest. For AirTran, the big thing for them was the job security for their employees. Every single employee that worked for AirTran, when they completed the voyage, they were able to keep their jobs. And the benefit, as I just mentioned, was the opportunity to offer international flights for Southwest. Before this time, they had not gone internationally anywhere. And on July 1st, 2014, they officially began serving three countries of Jamaica, Bermuda, and the Bahamas. The mission of Southwest Airlines is dedication to the highest quality of customer service, delivered with a sense of warmth, friendliness, individual pride, and company spirit. And one of the ways they do this is called through something called transparency. This is where they make everything about like their customer. They want to be honest with their customers. They want to be loyal to their customers. They want to keep their airfare as low as possible, and just their prices in general as low as they can possibly be. And one of the ways they do that is through the bags fly free. This is one of my favorite things. I know it's small and it's simple, but I don't like paying for luggage. And coming here to college, I don't have to worry about paying any money for bags for me. One of the big technological advantages is Southwest Airlines uses a single type of aircraft, the Boeing 737. They currently have the largest fleet in the world of this specific aircraft at 704 as of a couple weeks ago that I read. And the reason why they do this is it's a lot easier to maintain. Southwest Airlines does not offer, they don't have assigned seats. They have zones throughout. So if a plane were to break down or for some reason not be able to go, it's easier for them to just swap out a plane right last second. And the bigger thing that they do is they want to save money because they only have to train the mechanics on one type of airplane instead of several types of airplanes. So as the financials go, they're in their 45th year. Since 1971, they have had 44 consecutive years of profitability. It's very impressive. 2015 net income of $2.2 billion, very good. Their stock price is currently $47.10. But as you can see, here's 2012 and 2011, when they acquired AirTran, and the 80s and 90s, like early 2000s, their stock price never went above $10 or $15. So we believe that this will continue to grow. As you can see, it's coming up and to $47 now. We believe this is in large part to the international flights that they now offer. They now offer a lot more. We'll get to that like a little bit later. But we believe that this is a good indicator for the company that the stock price is good, and we believe it'll stay this way the more international flights they get. As far as the citizens of Bermuda, there's only about 65,000 people there. So Southwest, we wouldn't go there based off the citizens. There's not enough people flying out of Bermuda to be able to do that. The thing we'd be charging is their tourists. Each year they get 500 to 6,000 tourists each year. And we believe with our competition that we have low enough airfare, we can be competitive and take some of those tourists to our company. Now we'll bring up Jenkins. He's going to talk about that.
Good morning, class. As you can see, my topic is on the economical assessment of Bermuda, and I just like to say, I'm from Papua New Guinea, and I was amazed at what that little island could offer and how they could perform economically. They punch above their level, their weight, and in terms of like baseball, you'd say they hit the ball out. Like, it's amazing because their per capita income is $85,000, and that in itself, that's amazing. So they're the they've been in the top 50 for more than a decade, and at one point they were in the top 5 in the world. You go to the economical development. They try not to sell land to foreigners. Because the island is small, they like to keep it within themselves and promote business within the country. But if you were to buy land, if someone from a different country wanted to buy land, you'd only be able to buy in the luxurious area of town. So you're looking at like $1 million and upwards. And the government tries to create and retain jobs. And the little island is the leaders in the reinsurance business. So I found that really amazing because they insure insurance. So we know how rich insurance companies are. But these guys, they insure the insurers. So that's phenomenal. Then we go, they're members of economic associations. So they're big trading partners, America, United Kingdom, and Canada. So they have the USA Bermuda Alliance, and with that, they can trade with each other. They make everything easier. They have like departments specifically maintained for their trade. And then they have the Canada, and they have the US one in it. And then they have the little island one, just among themselves. And then they have a stable exchange rate. We learned about exchange rate in class and how it fluctuates. Bermuda, their economy is strong. They don't fluctuate. They just remain same. And if there was going to be a graph, there'll be a straight line across. And they perform strong. And in terms of the American dollar, they go 1 for 1 with them. And not a lot of countries can say that in regards to the American dollar. But Bermuda can boast it. And their main industries, because they're island, they're tourism, manufacturing, and reinsurance, and that goes in order, tourism. And then we'll talk about the political assessment of Bermuda. The stability of their government is, they've been around for almost 200 years, and they've been stable all this time. And they fight competitively for businesses. And they have a parliamentary representative democratic dependency, meaning that the Queen has a royal fingers in the country, but the people still have to vote for their leaders, who then form a party, and then the governor, which is appointed by the Queen, invites the party leader to become the premier. And that's what this slide says. We'll go to the next one. And their tax laws. And their tax laws are, you'll be surprised by this one. They like to fight the term like a tax haven, but they do not want to be seen that way. And they have no income tax, no capital gains tax, no VAT tax, and no sales or wealth tax. So this is one of their strong, the best foot they can put forward is the tax rules that they have is very lenient. And so we'll be talking about the competitive assessment for Bermuda, and I'll ask Josh to come up. Thank you.
Good morning, guys. I'll be talking about the competitive assessment of Southwest to Bermuda. Okay. Southwest has 97 domestic destinations, especially in the U.S. and 41 states. So it's international destinations include 6 countries in the Caribbean, which is Jamaica, Bahamas, Dominican Republic, Mexico, Costa Rica, and Puerto Rico. Currently, there are about 7 airline companies that are established in Bermuda. We have Airlines, Delta Airlines, JetBlue, United Airlines. The first 4 is American companies, and then the WestJet Airlines and Air Canada, which are Canadian companies, and British Airways from Britain. Okay, generally the market's strengths of airline companies are usually flying is the most preferred way. People they prefer flying than other means of travel, and also there is an increase in passenger travel. And flying is the quickest way and safest way of travel, and also they are usually like friendly staff and highly trained And also, the ticket price tend to be cheaper, affordable. One thing about Southwest Airlines here in the U.S., they try to be different from other companies. So we believe that this is one of the advantages that they take everywhere we do it. So they have like free bag policy, as my friend mentioned earlier. They hire like high staff-oriented people in order to help people. And another thing is that 30 minutes before the flight, you can be able to cancel flights. So ticket prices are low, as low as $69, and they also have like membership cards which you sign up for and earn points in order to have a free flight. And also they seek to change the business plan. And I'll be talking about social and cultural assessment. The education levels there are really high, and as you can see from the statistics, 60.1% of the bachelor's degree or higher, and 19.1% of some college associate's degree, and 18.4% of high school diploma, and 1% of less. And there's some cultures or traditions which I found out, like drinking water is usually collected from roofs. Since there's no rain over there, we try to restore water. And the people over there are really polite. They greet usually strangers and they greet themselves. And they consider it rude for if you don't greet them and ask their relationship. Okay. One of the things, as you saw in the picture earlier, men usually wear like shorts and they have shoes on. And there's also an African culture that's coming. Also, there's some celebrations they usually celebrate. Like every Wednesdays, they have a festival in St. George, Hamilton, where they usually sings and all kinds of traditional things they do. Also, they have musical festivals and other festivals. The religion there is basically mostly Christian, about 70%. Then you have Muslims, other 95%, and 65%. Or the language spoken there is like basically English, and then the second is Portuguese and the other languages. Okay. We have holidays over there. Usually during the holidays, businesses are closed on Saturdays, usually Saturdays and Sundays, and usually the businesses do not operate. Businesses who operate on holidays usually need a license by the government in order to operate during the holidays. So it kind of affects them. And there's no publication in newspapers, and there's limited business activity, tourism. Okay, I'll be handing it over to Lamar to do geographic and market assessment.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Lamar, and I'm going to be talking specifically about the geographic and market assessment for Bermuda. The most important thing we want to realize is Bermuda a good investment for Southwest Airlines? And we're going to be talking about that. First, let's talk a little bit about the island of Bermuda. Bermuda is mainly an archipelago, or an island chain of approximately 140 smaller islands. It's divided into about 9 different parishes, and it's between 570 and 650 miles off the coast of North Carolina. The total area of the island is about 53.3 kilometers or 21 square miles, and it's 75 miles across the coastline. The interesting thing about the coastline is it's protected by barrier reefs. This is a very crude example of Bermuda. The barrier reefs protect the north, west, and south side of the island. Barrier reefs are important because they protect the island from hurricanes. Hurricanes don't happen a lot in that area, but when they do, the damage isn't too bad along these areas because of the reefs. And let's talk about the terrain, transportation, and climate. The terrain is described as having low hills separated by fertile depressions. It's very lush, it's very green, they have nice beaches, it's a very nice place to be. Because the island is so small, like I mentioned, it's very easy to travel around. People go by cars, boats, scooters, what have you. The climate is mostly warm and humid. The coldest month is February, and it's about 60 degrees at the lowest, and the warmest month is August. It goes up to about 80. So generally the climate is very nice. Now let's go on to the market side of things. 3 things we need to know before we go into Bermuda is is there a need for Southwest to be there? What is the market size? And how do we do it if we decide we want to go in? First, let's talk about the airport we could potentially be going into. This is L.F. Wade International. L.F. Wade was formerly a military base in World War II. It was shared between the Royal Air Force and the U.S. Air Force. It was transferred to the Navy in the 1970s. And in 1995, it was transferred to Bermuda's Ministry of Tourism and now operates as an airport. Josh mentioned earlier some of our competitors. You can see them in this picture with Delta Airlines. I believe that's British Airways. You also have United Air, American Air, JetBlue, WestJet, Air Canada, other things like that. The interesting thing about L.F. Wade is currently they're talking about building a new location because this current area is susceptible to hurricanes. Now I mentioned that it was protected by reefs, but L.F. Wade is located in St. George, Hamilton, which is about right here. And as you can see, there aren't any reefs protected from there. So currently there's a $250 million project to build a new airport. Now I believe this is an opportunity for Southwest to get involved in the new airport. All the other airlines have contracts with L.F. Wade that we can potentially go into there. Another thing why it would be important for Southwest to go is because of tourism. Some of my colleagues mentioned earlier that tourism is a big part of Bermuda's economy. We get up to about 600,000 tourists per year, as John mentioned. 75% of those come from the U.S. That would be from everyone from this side to this side to just represent the U.S. tourists going to Bermuda. 5% come from Canada, and 4% come from UK and the rest of the world. Now, let's talk about advertising. The interesting thing is that it's not really the job of the airlines to get people onto flights. It's the job of Bermuda to attract people to the country. But Southwest has a rich history of important and intriguing ad campaigns. There's no reason why we can't get involved. For example, last year they had in-flight concerts to promote tourism to Tennessee because they had flights, bands would sing and do concerts like that from Memphis to Tennessee, and Dallas to Tennessee. And they also did these little billboards here. And an event in 2013 when legislation was lifted off Fort Dallas, Texas, in order for them to fly internationally, and they did things like that in LAX and Chicago. I thought those were interesting. So in conclusion, based on all of our assessments, we as a group ultimately believe that Southwest can expand to Bermuda. We can do this through partnerships like the other airlines have done, or through foreign direct investment even. And we can do this in the new international airport, which is slated to be ready around 2020. Now we know the culture, we know the country, we know our company, we know the business. Let's fly. Now at this time, my colleagues and I will be coming up and we'll be taking questions that you might have.
Anybody have anything? Yes.
Did you find that cruise ships were a main competitor when traveling to Bermuda since it's an island?
It was a little bit competitive. It's a good question. She asked if cruise ships are competitive for the airline. That's definitely a factor, but most of the people do go by plane. But there is that aspect of stuff.
Would you be able to get contracts with the current airport before 2020, or would you have to wait until the new airport is built to kind of move in?
It would be possible to get a contract with the airport now, but it would be better to go ahead and wait until the new one is built. Mainly because it is susceptible to hurricane damage. Now, nothing's happened yet, but potentially it could.
If I could add to that, that'll be a tender process, and I'm pretty sure we can pick competitors to get it.
Now, excuse me, where'd you say that new airport will be located at on the island?
It didn't, where it is. I forget the name exactly, but it will be somewhere closer to the center of the island, so that would be a new one would be.
Okay.
Economically speaking, is the nation basically built for larger corporations, or is it easier for small businesses, economic-wise?
They try to encourage, because the island is really small, they try to encourage international FDI. So they cater, and if it's going to be a small corporation, they like to cater to their native people. But they like to encourage bigger corporations. So it's like a mix.
As far as geographically, how many hurricanes have hit since 2000? Like, has it affected the airport dramatically, or?
It hasn't affected it dramatically. Like, there isn't a specific number of hurricanes that have happened since then. Not that I could find anyway, but
time.